afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the University of Dundee Master of Education webinar. My name is Helen Spiropoulos. I am the Admissions Manager at Stafford Associates, and joining me this afternoon all the way from the University of Dundee is Diane Mitchell, who is the Program Director for this particular M.Ed. Good afternoon, Diane, and thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Helen, and good afternoon, students. Thank you very much for inviting me to come and talk to you this afternoon. It's an absolute pleasure.
Okay, so I can look on my left-hand side and I can see that quite a lot of you have actually joined us, and thank you and welcome. How we are going to do the webinar this afternoon is I'm just going to briefly introduce Stafford and who we are. I'm then going to hand you over to Diane, who is going to talk about the M.Ed. And at the end of the presentation, we give you a chance to ask us any questions. Now, Diane is here specifically to answer any questions related to the academics of the program. So use this opportunity to ask her all the questions that you want. On the left-hand side, you'll see that there is a chat box. At the bottom of your chat box, you'll see it says send to everyone. So when you do type out your question, make sure that it says send to everyone, so all the people that are participating in this webinar can actually see your question. We'll have Diane answer all those questions. Normally, if the questions are very similar or if it has been answered, then obviously we'll let you know that it has been answered. Okay, so we can actually go through this webinar quite effectively in that manner. Okay. All right, let us actually start with the webinar. Who is Stafford? We were established in 1993, and we are a resource centre for distance learning education in the Middle East. We are currently the resource centre for 5 UK universities, one of which is the University of Dundee. We offer a variety of programs, starting from certificates right through to MBAs, MScs, as well as doctorates. And our function is to offer academic and administrative support. Basically what that means is that we are here to assist you throughout your registration process for the program of your choice. Okay, and now I'm going to hand you over to Diane. So I'm going to switch off my camera and I'll come back towards the end of the presentation. Over to you, Diane.
Thank you, Helen. Okay, so firstly, thank you very much for being interested in coming to study with us at the University of Dundee. We're delighted that you're looking at completing your Master of Education with us. If I can tell you a wee bit about Dundee first of all. We are a small city in Scotland. We have a population of about 150,000, and we are very proud to be Scotland's sunniest city. I've had to close the blinds today because the sun is shining, and you wouldn't have been able to see me very well. We are one city with many discoveries. We're famous for jam. There's been jam making in Dundee for a very long time. We're famous for jute. That's the fibre that's used to make rope and netting, journalism, and very much recently we're also famous for joysticks. There's an awful lot of digital technology and digital design happening in Dundee. So it's a very exciting place to be at the moment. We're a United Nations City of Design. We got that recognition in 2014, and there's a lot of development happening on the waterfront at Dundee at the moment. And if you come to, we hope that if you study with us, that you will come to Dundee to graduate and get to know the city that we're based in. On the waterfront, we have the Royal Research Ship Discovery, and that's the ship that went to the Antarctic on Scott's expedition in 1901. And next to it, we've currently got the Victoria and Albert Museum being built, and that hopefully will open maybe late next year, in 2018 at the latest, I think. So hopefully by the time you're graduating, we'll have the V&A open. Okay, so there's been a university in Dundee since 1881, and we were originally part of the University of St Andrews, and St Andrews University is just across the water in Fife. We've been a University of Dundee in our own right since 1967, and next year we celebrate our 50th anniversary. We would hope that if you are studying with us, then you'll be able to take part in those celebrations. We've delivered teacher education here since 1905, so just over 100 years, and we're currently ranked top in Scotland in the National Student Survey, and 76% of the university's research is rated as being world leading or internationally renowned. In choosing Dundee, you are choosing a very secure, long-established university to come and study with. You would be learning at a distance. Our Master of Education is a distance learning programme, but that doesn't mean that you are in any way less a student of our university. You have equal access to things like the library, student services. It doesn't make a difference whether you are an on-campus student or a distance learning student. Your degree certificate will say exactly the same thing. It will say that you have graduated with a Master of Education or a postgraduate certificate or diploma if you exit earlier. And speaking of graduation, it's actually graduation day today, and I was there this morning, and we would really encourage you to come to graduation and join in the celebrations and to meet members of staff and also fellow students that you've worked alongside. Okay, so why Dundee in particular? As I said just before, we do have an excellent academic reputation internationally, and we're frequently placed very highly in university rankings, both in the UK and internationally. And you can see there, we're Scottish University of the Year, we're first in Scotland for student experience, and that's not just on-campus student experience, that's feedback from distance learners as well. We're in the top 20 of the world's youngest universities, and we're first in Scotland for innovative universities in Europe. And if you go onto the university website, you'll see more of the awards that we've earned in the past few years, and indeed in the last 12 months. In terms of the School of Education and Social Work, which is where the degree is based, in the Times Good University Guide 2015, we were placed 6th in the UK for education. So if we think about the Master of Education degree itself, so this slide gives you a wee overview. Almost all of our students study part-time, and that's because most of them are working either as teachers or as other educational professionals, and so working part-time on their studies fits nicely with having full-time work commitments and family commitments. And studying part-time, it does give you the flexibility and the autonomy to study when it suits you. and it's primarily distance learning for some modules, and for yourselves, the workshops would be for core modules. So that's for reflection upon practice, research methods, and dissertation. And one of the questions that we sometimes get asked is, do I have to come to the workshops? And we appreciate that sometimes it's impossible for people to get out of work to come to a workshop. So for every face-to-face workshop, there will be materials put up into the online module area, so that if you weren't able to get to the workshop, you don't miss out. But the mode of study is primarily distance learning, so it's you accessing the module materials, working through them in your own time, doing the activities, making contact with the tutor, and very much working through the module at your own pace. Really, the only deadline is the assignment deadline at the end. Everything else, it's up to you to organise it around work and family life. We're recognised by the General Teaching Council for Scotland and the International Baccalaureate organisation, and I'll talk a wee bit more about our links with the IBO and the certificates that we offer when we get to that slide. We have currently students from literally all around the world studying on the various modules, so you could find yourself studying a module alongside somebody who is based in America. Somebody else could be based here in Dundee, somebody could be based in Australia, but you're all doing the same module and you're all working together. It doesn't matter where you are globally for you to be able to access and complete this degree successfully. And you don't have to be a teacher, but you do need to have sufficient experience to draw on, particularly for writing the assignments. And most of our students are working in schools, so at the moment we have a couple of social work professionals who they are based in schools, so they're able to draw on school-based experience when they come to do the assignments, and it's important that you have that school-based experience. If you're not working at the moment, some of our students are maybe taking career breaks to bring up family, if you have fairly recent school-based experience to draw on, then that shouldn't be that you shouldn't find it that much of a barrier to be able to draw an experience, to be able to complete the assignments. And if we think about why the M.Ed, there's some quotes here from the Donaldson report, and this report came out a few years ago, and it really encourages master's level learning for teachers, and it's looking at the skills and attributes that you get from studying at this level, and the way in which that can be applied into the classroom. And the higher order thinking and critical skills, it does make a difference to the practice of teachers and other practitioners when you go back into the classroom and work with your students. You may well have already looked at the marketing materials on our university website for the M.Ed, and after the webinar, if you have questions, then I would encourage you, as well as getting in touch with Helen, to have a look at the information on the university website as well, and hopefully most of your answers will be found there. It is a level 11 degree, and there are various different modules, and it's a programme, as you can see there. It's based on you reflecting on your practice and thinking about how can I improve my practice as a result of the things that I'm learning. some of the assignments require you to carry out a work-based inquiry, so to identify something that you want to change, to make a plan to change it and to put that into place. Now, if you're not in a work-based setting at the moment, then we do have a non-work-based route. So if you're on a career break, then please don't feel that that's a barrier. We do have non-work-based assignments that you can take, and particularly when we get to the dissertation stage, and there's a module called negotiated study that's an optional module. It's looking at action research, so it's about you identifying something that you want to change and creating a research project, putting it into practice, and writing it up afterwards. As you can see there, it takes most people about 36 months to complete the M.Ed, and that's studying 2 modules a year. Now, that's for our part-time students. If you're in a position to be able to take 2 modules at once, then you would be able to fast track, and you'd be able to complete the M.Ed in 18 months. But as I was saying before, most of our students do take the part-time route because of work commitments, but that's very much a personal choice, and we're happy to discuss that with you. So what we're aiming for is we're aiming to build on the existing knowledge, the existing skills and attributes that you bring to the degree already, and particularly because you're educational professionals, you've already got an awful lot of skill to bring. So it's about taking that on to the next level at level 11. So what we hope that you will do and that you'll become more confident in with studying the M.Ed is critical reflection, being able to reflect critically on your own practice, as I said before, and it's also looking at your skill set and developing specialist knowledge, and you may choose to follow a specialist pathway and to investigate a particular area in depth, and that can only enhance your professional practice. And very much we hope that studying the M.Ed will not only impact on your own practice, but the practice of colleagues around you as you share things that you've learned, assignments that you've done, things that have made you think and stop and question. So hopefully studying doesn't just have an impact on you, but it will have an effect on the practitioners that you're working with in your everyday working life. Okay, so as you can see there, we've got the aims of the programme, and most of those are very, very similar to what I've just been telling you about. Okay, so now we come on to the structure of the M.Ed, and that diagram maybe looks a wee bit complicated. Okay, so our students generally, and this is for a student who hasn't studied at level 11 before, they would come in, and the first module that you would take is reflecting upon practice, and then you would take 2 optional modules. You would then take research methods and then the dissertation, and that would take you as a part-time student about 36 months. And the only difference between full and part-time study is the length of time that it takes you to complete the M.Ed degree, and each module takes about 5 or 6 months, other than the dissertation, and that takes a full year to complete. As you can see there are various exit points, so it's possible for you to take 2 modules and then graduate with a postgraduate certificate, and for most part-time students that would take around 12 months to complete those 2 modules. If you've completed 4 modules, then you would be able to graduate with a postgraduate diploma once you've gained 120 credits. And for the full Master of Education, you would be exiting once you'd gained the 180 credits by completing the dissertation after the earlier modules. What you can do, and so sometimes students start on the M.Ed pathway and something happens at work, or they may have a happy event such as a baby, or promotion at work, and for whatever reason they've maybe done 2 modules, 3 modules, 4 modules, and I think actually trying to fit studying at the moment is going to be a really big challenge for me. So if you'd done, say, 2 modules, what you could do is you could leave the programme at that point with your postgraduate certificate, and then you might find in 2 or 3 years' time that things are a wee bit different. You're able to fit studying again. What you can do is you can come back, and as long as it's within about 5 years, you can rejoin the programme and bring those credits through with you. If it's after 5 years, then those credits aren't classified as being in date anymore. But there is the option to almost pause the study that you're doing and to come back when things are less hectic for you at home, if you will. If you've already got level 11 credits, then you can ask us to take that into account. So, you may now be working out in the Middle East, but you may have done a postgraduate certificate or a postgraduate diploma in education when you did initial teacher education, and your modules may have been at level 11, and if that's the case, then what you can do is you can ask for us to take that into account, and normally you can claim up to 60 credits, although exceptionally it's possible for students to claim up to 90 credits, and with recognition of prior learning, we do look at everybody's case individually, because what we find is that everybody applying for the M.Ed is different, but we would look at the credits from the study that you've already done, and we would see where it mapped to the modules that we offer on the M.Ed. Okay. So I said a wee while ago about the different pathways. So we have several named awards, and you can graduate with a Master of Education in various different pathways, and for you to graduate with one of these specialist named awards, you would have to do particular modules, and what you will find is that in the university information on the website, it tells you there the modules that you would have to do to be able to graduate with, say, a Master of Education in International Education or in Nursery and Early Education. And we have a range of optional modules. The optional modules with an asterisk, they're the ones that link to a named award. So the International Education module, you would have to take that to be able to follow the International Education M.Ed. Working towards inclusion, you would need to take that if you wanted to get the M.Ed in inclusion and learner support. It is possible. Sometimes students say, can I study for 2 specialisms? You can, but only one at a time. So if you wanted to do, say, an M.Ed in International Education, you would be able to do that. And then you might want to do a further postgraduate certificate in inclusion, and you would be able to do the M.Ed and then come back to do a postgraduate certificate. What you can't do is you can't use, say, reflection upon practice for an M.Ed and for a postgraduate certificate. It can only be counted towards one award. But if you were thinking about coming back, then again we would look at any previous level 11 study that you'd done that wasn't for a previous Master of Education with us. Our For international baccalaureate certificates, this is something that's fairly new. We were given accreditation for all of the 3 certificates there, plus our initial teacher education degree also offers an IB certificate. We were the first university to have the accreditation for all 4 certificates. For the certificates in leadership practice and the advanced certificates in leadership research, you don't have to be in an IB setting, but for the advanced certificates in learning and teaching research, so that's the one at the bottom of those 3. For that one, you have to have been teaching in an IB school for at least 3 years. And to get these international baccalaureate certificates, what you do is you register separately with the IB to say, I'm wanting to study for the certificate or the advanced certificate. And then once you've completed the M.Ed with us, you then go back to the IB and say, I've now completed my studies, which entitle me to claim, say, the advanced certificate in learning and teaching research, and then you would claim that from the IB after you'd finished your studies with us. And that model there shows the routes through the M.Ed and where you can graduate at different points with IB certificates. And Helen was telling me earlier that she'll be sending the link to the recording to you, so you'll be able to sit and have a really good look at that. If that's something that you're thinking about, that might be the pathway that you'd like to follow. So if we can think a wee bit about yourself as a autonomous independent learner at level 11, these are things that you will develop as you move through the modules, and very much when you start your first module. So and most students who come in with no level 11 credit, they start with reflection upon practice, and in that module, you start to build level 11 skills and attributes, and you continue to build on those as you go through the optional modules. And really, by the time you get to the dissertation, we would hope that at that point in time, you've built on all the experience of studying and the experience of submitting and passing level 11 assignments, so that the dissertation is very much a celebration of you working at level 11 and becoming a master of education, and really through your own dissertation you become the expert in your own specialist area. What you do need to do is you need to be able to take responsibility for your own learning. And I know from conversations that I've had with current students who have come through Stafford, that they find it quite different to undergraduate study that they've done, and that's very similar to students who are maybe teaching here in Dundee. It is different to undergraduate study. And one of the biggest differences, of course, is that you're not expected to turn up to a classroom every week and somebody teaches you. It's very much you've got the responsibility to go onto the module area, to engage with the module materials and the activities, and it's for you to keep in touch with your module tutor and let them know how you're getting on, and to ask for help and support if and when you need it. And what students often find is kind of the first month or two, particularly when you're starting, you're very enthusiastic, very keen. Sometimes you're thinking, wow, I didn't think I'd study ever again, and here I am. And you almost have a wee bit of a honeymoon period when everything's very, very new and exciting. And then maybe after 2 or 3 months, things start to get a bit harder. You might be having pressures at work and you're thinking, oh, how on earth am I going to fit studying? And at that point, sometimes students find it quite challenging to study. And what I would say is, if you do hit that point and you're thinking, oh, how am I going to fit this in? I'm not sure that I can do this. That's the point at which you send an email to your module tutor, or contact Stafford and say, I need a wee bit of support here. And that might not be academic support that you need. It might actually be a wee bit of personal and moral support. And one of the things that our tutor team are very, very good at is supporting our distance learning students that are trying to juggle study with trying to work full time. I think all of us on the team, we came through our own Master of Education degrees while working full time and trying to study at a distance. So we completely understand what it's like to be you, because not so long ago we were you as well. So we do know that studying can become very, very challenging at times. And what we also expect of you, and these things, they come through in the assignments that you write. So what we need you to be showing us is that you've read around the subject, that you've taken the time to find literature, that you're able to put together a coherent argument, to develop a viewpoint, and to put that point across to the person who's at the other end, reading the assignment that you've written. As you'll appreciate, there are minimum English language requirements, and for the M.Ed, it's an IELTS score of 6.5 overall. And again, there are more information and guidance on that on the university website. Okay. So how do we support you? Which I think probably is one of your biggest questions and one of your biggest worries, because I'm here in Dundee and you're in Dubai or neighbouring countries, and you're thinking, how on earth is this going to work? As I said earlier on, it really doesn't make a difference to how we are teaching and supporting you, whether you're here in Dundee or whether you're on the other side of the world. We offer email contact. You can ask for a Skype tutorial or a phone tutorial. For the core modules, there are local face-to-face workshops. Most of the module materials that you will need are online in the module area that's held in My Dundee. Particularly for the earlier modules, we offer formative assessment opportunities, and what that is it's a chance to start to write the assignment quite early on, and to send it in so that a tutor can have a look at it and say to you, yes, you're writing at level 11, or actually you're not quite at level 11 yet, and this is what you need to do to be able to get your writing up to level 11. And for students that are having difficulties with academic writing, and also with referencing, we have an academic skills centre which is based in a department called Castle, and they're very well used to supporting distance learning students. And of course, you have a formal written assignment at the end of each of the modules. Now, the local face-to-face workshops for the core modules, as I said a wee while ago, you don't have to attend them. They're not mandatory, and if you can't make the workshop, then the information is posted in My Dundee. But if you can get to the workshop, then what you find is that it's a really good way to meet other students who are studying at the same time as you. And through meeting other students, you get benefits such as peer support, other students who they might be working in the school next door to you and you've not met before. It's somebody that you might decide that you're going to meet up once a month to catch up with each other. How's the study going? And I think having peer support is something that makes an awful lot of difference when you are studying part-time and you're studying online. Okay, so the entry requirements are there. So I think I've covered most of this already. I think. So if you're going to follow the workplace-based route, then this is for professionals that currently work in an educational setting. That might be a school, it might be a university, a further education college. It doesn't have to be a school. You must have an undergraduate degree, and as I've said already about the English language requirements, and then for non-work-based route, if you have previous work experience, if you're on a career break, but you've got the experience to draw on, then that's absolutely fine. Okay, and Helen's added the information about the tuition fee, and you would make those arrangements with Stafford. Okay. So these are some of the things that our students have said about studying on the M.Ed and the impacts that it's had on their practice. So it helps them to identify areas for improvement, and so on. I'm just going to pause for a moment just to let you have a quick read of that before we move on. And to just sum up that slide, one of the things that we do get through student feedback is the way that students really do appreciate the support that they get from the tutors, and I would hope, and I'm quite sure that you will find that as well. Okay, so what you will find is when you become a student and you've matriculated, everything that you need to know for the Master of Education for your module is held in an area called My Dundee, and that's the university's online teaching area. And you will, and when you start the degree at first, then what you will find is we'll take time to help you to find your way around, so that you know where to find your module, which module to study first if you've got two showing in your area, and really how to get into my Dundee and how to get into your student email. But we do make sure that you're happy and comfortable with being able to access everything and being able to work the technology. Okay. So I think this is the moment where I draw breath, and if you have any questions, you can pop them into the box.
Okay, thank you very much, Diane. That was really very informative. Okay, I've opened up the chat box on the left-hand side, so you are welcome to actually start posting your questions, and Diane will be able to actually answer those. Okay, we have received a question from Julie. The workshops mandatory? Julie, no, they are not mandatory. Okay, there's a question from Habel for you, Diane. Does the University of Dundee have a preferred referencing style? And if yes, which one?
Okay, well, across the university, different schools have different referencing styles. The referencing style that we insist upon for the Master of Education is Harvard. And in particular, we expect you to use a publication called Cite Them Right, which is available via the university library. So it's a particular strand of Harvard, but again, with referencing, when you start your first module, we will give you information about that.
Okay, next question is from Theodora. Is it possible to apply on the basis of work experience?
Right. Theodora, can you give a wee bit more information? Because what I'm reading there is if you've got work experience in a school, is that enough? But I think what you're maybe asking there is, if I've not got a degree, is that enough? And you, as you saw on the slide a wee bit earlier, you do have to have an undergraduate degree to be able to get onto the M.Ed. But you equally need experience in an educational establishment to be able to draw on both the work-based and the non-work-based routes.
Okay, and Omar has asked quite an interesting question. Will this course qualify me as a teacher?
It doesn't. No, the course it's recognised by the General Teaching Council for Scotland as a post-qualifying degree, but it does not give you qualified teacher status.
Okay, and Mesa, can you provide us with pre-reading material, especially regarding the IB leadership practice route?
Well, the short answer is yes, and how you get that is the module reading lists are made available six weeks before the module starts, and they're actually available without you needing to log into the university's library area. They're available openly on the internet from about 6 weeks beforehand, so you would be able to get the reading list from there. But a feature of Level 11 study is that you very much seek out your own reading and your own literature.
Okay, Julie has quite an interesting question as well. Can they stop their studies mid-module, or can students only do that after they have completed a module? So she's obviously talking about breaks. So can she take a break in the middle of a module, or is it only between modules?
Right. We would refer to these as temporary withdrawals, and and what that means is that yes, you can take a break. Now you can take it mid-module, but what happens there is, say the module is 20 weeks and you've done weeks 1 to 10. You would apply for a temporary withdrawal, and the clock would stop at the end of week 10. And then when you came back to your study, you would then pick up that same module, but from week 11 of the module, and you would be given a revised submission date.
Okay. Omar's question is, I want to do the PG cert, and then after 1 year, I will continue with my M.Ed. Is that also possible?
It's possible for you to do the postgraduate certificate and graduate, and then decide that I'm going to come back. But to be able to be awarded the M.Ed, you would have to hand in the PG certificate, because you can't have two awards based on the same credit. So the full M.Ed would overtake the postgraduate certificate.
And Mohammed is asking about exemptions. If he has done a PG cert elsewhere, can he get the exemptions?
You can apply for recognition of prior learning, and we would look at the postgraduate certificate and what was involved in it to see whether we could map it against our M.Ed. And we would do that on an individual basis. So it's about applying and sending the information in to say, I've got 60 credits at SCQF level 11. That's the Scottish Curriculum and Qualifications Framework. And sending us the details and sending us a transcript of the modules that you studied.
Okay. And Habel has asked a question. Can he have a reduction in the duration of the program? Already has a 1-year certificate course and a 4 years bachelor degree. So can the duration of the 2 years be reduced?
I think this is very similar to what Mohammed was asking, actually. It depends on, because you've not specified there, Habel, whether your certificate was a postgraduate certificate at level 11. And as I was saying in response to Mohammed's question, it very much does depend on what that certificate was in, and if it's relevant prior learning. And again, what you would do when you applied, you would send in the information. But certainly you wouldn't be able to count the 4-year bachelor's degree, because I believe that would have been an undergraduate degree, so not at level 11. So the kind of the magic key, if you will, is that if you've already done level 11 study, we will be able to look at it and consider it.
Okay, and Samantha was asking about the IB leadership route, but she's found the information. Okay, good, Samantha, I'm glad. Okay, Mohammed, is it possible to have 2 specializations?
Well, this is something that I did talk about a wee while earlier in the webinar. It's possible for you to get a Master of Education in one specialism and then return to do, I mean, if you wanted, you could come back and do a complete second master's degree in a different specialisation. But what you can't do is say, I've done research methods, so it can count for 2 separate degrees. So you can have 2 specialisations, but you need to follow them as completely separate qualifications.
Okay. Omar, we've actually answered your question already. Okay, Theododa, will there be a supervisor sent from your side to assess and monitor the work that I'm doing?
Okay. No, as I was explaining before, it's very much for you to be self-directed in your study, and for you to keep in contact with the module tutor. We do assess your work. You send your formative and your summative work to us via email and via the secure university website. So your work is assessed. That's how you build up the credits. What we also do is we will make sure at the 6-week mark and at the 12-week mark going through a module that you've actually engaged with the module, so that you've been onto the module area. And if we've not heard from you, and if you've not been onto the module area, then we'll send you an email to say, hi, is everything okay? And what have you, and then if we've still not heard from you after 12 weeks, that's when, because when you matriculate, when you register as a student of the university, there are certain things that you sign up to that you say you will do, and one of those is that you will keep in regular contact with your tutors. So if you're not engaged in 12 weeks, that's when you start to fall foul of things. Okay, and I can see at the bottom that you've said thank you, so I must have answered your question.
Okay, and Habel, when is the next M.Ed intake? We are currently accepting applications for the November intake. So we do encourage you to try and send your documents as soon as possible so we can send it to the university for review and approval. It is a very, very popular program, and we do have limited seats available. So I do encourage you to try and send your documents to your academic consultant at Stafford as soon as possible. Okay, Omar has asked a question. What is the difference between the part-time and full-time route? And can I start full-time and then change to part-time?
Okay, the main difference between the part-time and full-time is really the amount of time it takes. So if you're doing a full-time route, you could complete in about 18 months, so a year and a half. If it was full-time, if it was a part-time route, it takes about 3 years. Omar, you can start full-time because what that would mean is that you studied 2 modules at once. Now, if you started on the full-time route in November and said, right, I'm going to do 2 modules now, and then you handed those in March, and you thought, actually, this is just a bit too much of a fast pace for me, I think I'd prefer to do part-time, then what you do is you just contact us and say, oh, actually, as of March, can I just do 1 module at a time? And that would be absolutely fine. That would be no problem whatsoever.
Okay. Macy's question is, she has finished her Master's in Educational Leadership in the UK. She has done the research methods, but was not provided an exemption from University of Dundee. So she has obviously been assigned the research methods. Is this the same module as the research method she has done previously? If not, how different is it?
I think that's a question that we need to follow up with you individually, because without knowing which university you did your first Masters in, then it's impossible for me to say, because every university does research methods slightly differently. So if we can maybe pick up Mace's query separately and follow that up with her.
Yeah, absolutely. Mesa, what you can do is get in touch with your academic consultant at Stafford, and we can give you Diane's email address, and Diane can obviously have a look into that for you.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you. Theododa, when is the face-to-face session? That will be confirmed in the next couple of weeks, Theododa, and we'll definitely be able to give you the information on that as soon as it is confirmed. Okay. Okay, and Julie, with regards to any fees and payment structures, please do get in touch with your academic consultant at Stafford, and she or he will be able to give you the details regarding that. Okay, and Mesa, thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mesa. I'm glad that Diane managed to answer your question. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? Now would be the time so that Diane can actually answer them for you. Okay, Omar wants to know if he can actually attend the graduation in the UK, or at the actual university.
Yeah. Omar, absolutely, and this is one of the ways in which you, being a distance student, doesn't vary in any way from our on-campus students. If you're graduating with a Master of Education, then you will be invited to attend the graduation ceremony here in Dundee.
Okay. Any other questions? Now you can start typing them. Thank you, Hubble. I'm glad that you found the webinar quite enlightening, and I'm sure it actually answered all your questions. Okay, Diane, I don't actually see anyone asking any more questions. I think you were actually quite thorough If there are any other questions that you need to ask your academic consultant, by all means, feel free to contact us at Stafford. As I said, we are currently accepting applications for the next cohort, so please ensure that you do send your documents as soon as possible. Okay, so that's all from us. Thank you very much. Again, thank you, Diane, for being with us this afternoon. It was great having you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone.